They're not going to make the team or get cut from the team off of one day. So what really you're trying to see in a group with this much talent is how do they combine with other really good players? Like, can they play with other high-level players on the floor, not just be the number one option only? You know, can you be the second option? Can you be the third option? Can you be the fourth option? Can you be the fifth option?
What appears to be a standard roster overhaul is actually USA Basketball's most forceful philosophical change. Has made in decades, yet the majority of fans still don't understand what just transpired. This wasn't a little change, or a brief experiment. This was an intentional reset, a proclamation that the previous regulations are no longer relevant. Team USA relied on history, stability, and trust for many years. They opted for disruption this time. They opted for speed over comfort and risk. This wasn't a modification. T has nothing to do with politics. T had nothing to do with popular opinion or optics. This was a firm but silent line in the sand, indicating that the program is no longer interested in honoring the past if doing so jeopardizes the future. The response to the most recent Team USA roster leak was not one of curiosity. It was startling. Two names that were previously thought to be untouchable were abruptly absent. Chelsea Gray was not present. Brittany Griner was not present. No formal send-off, no goodbye tour, no gentle transition, just gone. And Caitlin stood where they had been. Clark, not as a novelty, not as a bench score, and not as a marketing gimmick, but as the focal point of an completely fresh blueprint. It's clear from that fact alone that this wasn't an accident. When an initiative such as Team USA, it's not about personalities, so legacy players can go on without concern. It has to do with identity. And identity. Everything that follows is altered once it has been rewritten. It wasn't disrespectful. It served as a warning. For many years, veterans hardly ever had to challenge the unwritten rule that Team USA operated under. If you had tenure, medals, and authority in the locker room, your place was secure. You were shielded by your resume. Officially, that era is over. Chelsea Gray's unexpected loss of basketball skills did not cost her a spot. Because of the standard, she lost it. Shifted under her feet. The heritage of USA Basketball is no longer fulfilling. They have an instant impact and are rewarding. The new assessment standards are really straightforward. Current output, flexibility in game speed, and skill sets that withstand contemporary foreign offenses that don't play stagnant, lethargic basketball. Put simply, if your body is unable to keep up with, your resume is irrelevant in the fast-paced global game of today. That's why the wound felt so painful. It wasn't sentimental. It wasn't a coincidence. It was deliberate. Grainer's absence had a different impact, but it was equally profound. She is well-known and powerful. She has been the physical foundation of USA Basketball's interior for over 10 years. Presence. However, the coaching staff eventually came to terms with this difficult reality. The international women's game has evolved away from conventional post dominance. International teams no longer dread size as they once did. They are afraid of spacing. They are afraid of speed. They are afraid of defensive frameworks being stretched by perimeter shooting. Until they give way. Slow-footed big men no longer anchor defenses against contemporary offenses. They become into targets. They are drawn into switches and space. They are attacked. Pace neutralizes them. This choice had nothing to do with leadership or repute. It was all about fit. In basketball in 2025, fit always triumphs over celebrity. The game doesn't hold out for legends. In order to catch up, Caitlin Clark enters the story at this point, which is where most storylines fall short. Clark wasn't only selected, she opened it. She wasn't chosen due to jersey sales, TV ratings, or participation on social media. It wasn't the other way around. Those monsters followed her. She was chosen due to her ability. Set resolves an issue for years. Team USA has failed to make any progress. International defenses acquired the skill of packing the paint against American groups. They acquired the skill of post-entry baiting and early collapse. They acquired the skill of slowing down. Can make half-court possessions uncomfortable. By simply being, Clark disrupts all of that. Defenders are forced by her shooting range to retrieve her from the basket, which was almost 30 feet away in front of the offensive. That one fact extends complete defensive shells. Even starts. Set defenses become unstable before they are fully developed, driving lanes open, and rotations become delayed. It's not flair. This is geometry, not performance. She wasn't included in USA Basketball's highlights. Because the offense finally gets through to her, they added her. She bends the floor in a manner consistent with contemporary international basketball demands, and once you realize that, her presence becomes natural rather than contentious. Whispers evolved into terror at the pivotal moment, which occurred behind closed doors. Within the Team USA camp, one phrase kept coming up repeatedly. The choice was made by the coach. No compromises, no committee votes. Imagine the world's largest celebrity quietly giving her own team an ultimatum a year into her contract. The WNBA is currently experiencing a shockwave that sounds like something from a hoops fever dream. There is no denying the reports. Caitlin Clark has evolved beyond being the star guard. She is a complete threat who merely promised to leave her own team informally if they failed to prevent the free agency of two certain players. This goes beyond a celebrity's desire for her friends to return. This is about a calculated, brutal power move that revealed the front office of the Indiana Fever and demonstrated the full extent of Clark's impact. However, the whole drama isn't about her agreement. It concerns Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull, two teammates who were on the verge of being let go, and the startling order that was delivered in secrecy. Before delving farther into this volatile circumstance, let's stand back and consider how absolutely unique this moment is. Caitlin Clark joined the WNBA as the league's most anticipated rookie ever. She broke viewing records during her time in college at Iowa, generated a cultural phenomenon that went beyond athletics and gave women's basketball previously unheard of attention. Expectations were extremely high when she was selected first overall by the Indiana Fever. Overnight, the Heat went from being one of the league's underperforming teams to selling out venues. Television ratings soared and quadrupled, and merchandise flew off the shelves. Clark was more than just a basketball player. She became the spokesperson for a movement and the driving force behind women's basketball's rapid rise to popularity. Awareness. However, no one anticipated how quickly she would convert that cultural influence into real organizational leverage. Superstars have influenced roster choices in the past, although usually after at least a few all-star appearances, several titles, or years of shown success. Clark is acting in this manner following only a single season. A season in which the Fever failed to even make a deep playoff run despite her individual greatness. You don't get this by winning championships. This is pure commercial worth, pure star power, and pure acknowledgement that she is the most precious asset in the WNBA. She is aware of it. The crisis is a result of a harsh, icy financial reality that hit the Fever as soon as the season was over. For 2026, only 3 players are certain to be on the roster: Michaela Timpson, Aaliyah Boston, and Clark. Everyone else is a free agent, including beloved characters like. Suddenly, Hull and Cunningham were on the chopping block and were prepared to walk. The public position of management was that they wanted everyone back, but the calculations had already been completed in the background point. One of the most well-known figures on the to control the cap, the market would have to be sacrificed. And the first sacrifice was harsh. To comprehend why this circumstance. You must comprehend the WNBA's compensation structure and how significantly it differs from other major leagues for professional sports. In 2025, the WNBA will cap salaries at roughly $1.46 million per team. Yes, $1 million with AM for a roster of 12 players. That is less than the average salary of many NBA benchwarmers. A superstar player's maximum wage is approximately $241,000. Which seems reasonable until you consider that it is the absolute maximum for the world's top players. Many players are forced to play abroad because the majority earn between $60,000 and $100,000 a year, only to earn a living salary in the off-season. Because of this budgetary limitation, every contract keeping even one more role player can make it tough to make decisions elsewhere on the squad. In this situation, the front office of the Fever was put in an impossible situation. They have the brightest players in the league. Star in Caitlin Clark, earning the highest possible compensation. Aaliyah Boston, the 2023 Rookie of the Year, is among them. And a rising star who commands high prices in her own right. They must re-sign Kelsey Mitchell, a seasoned all-star guard, who has long been the team's most reliable scorer. And now they have to deal with requests. Must keep Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull, 2 players who not only surpassed expectations but also command respectable pay in this limited market. The math just doesn't work. Something must give. Insiders disclosed the initial terrifying. Make a plan. The front office of the Fever was ready to discreetly let Lexi Hull, a restricted free agent, depart, say free agent with restrictions. Indiana was able to match any offer she received, but according to rumors, they anticipated higher offers from other teams and had previously decided not to play them. This was a deliberate, low-key cost-cutting strategy created to save money for other objectives. It was a heartless betrayal of a player who volunteered while the Stars were wounded. Additionally, the executives thought they could get away with it because it would go unnoticed in the off-season. And it was precisely this silent choice that set off the real behind-the-scenes conflict that would alter everything. When you look at Lexi Hull's path, the situation is especially tragic. A 2022 second-round draft selection. Hull was not anticipated to play a significant role. She averaged just 3.4 points per game during her debut season, spending the majority of it on the bench. However, everything changed in 2024 when the Fever roster was beset by injuries. Hull came through in a huge manner. She became one of the most effective three-point shooters in the league, making almost 40% of her shots from beyond the arc. She became a dependable defender, gave Clark the necessary space to operate, and demonstrated the kind of work ethic and the team-first mindset that coaches aspire to. She changed from being an afterthought on the roster to a true contributor on a team that was all of a sudden relevant once more. And what's her prize for this successful season? The front desk was prepared to. Treating her like a disposable asset in their financial calculations, they let her go without a fight.